everyone, welcome to another episode of Quarantine Cooking with me, Chef Harsh. Today we're going to do something that is, it was one of my favorite comfort foods when I spent some time abroad in the US. It's an American classic. It's a tomato basil soup and a grilled cheese. So first we're going to just get started with the tomatoes. It's a pretty long process just because of the tomatoes. Ideally, so what you want to do is you want to take your tomatoes, make a little cross mark in them, get them in a pot, fill it up with water, bring it up to the boil, and cook the tomatoes that way. But what happens is it becomes a lot easier for you to just peel the skin off once you've made that crisscross. So that's what we're going to do first, and then we're going to get back into the rest of the recipe. Let's get some water. So you want to fill it up, you want to cover all the tomatoes. So, okay, and all we're going to do is we're going to just bring that up to the boil. So let's get that started, cover it, and you can forget about this for about 10-15 minutes or so. Okay, so our tomatoes have come to the boil. They've been boiling for about 6-7 minutes now. And what we're going to do is drain all that water out. Switch off the gas. Pop a colander in the sink and just grab it and chuck it up. Yes. We're going to run these under some cold water. Okay, just to stop the cooking process, get them a little easier to handle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just peel off the skin, and we're going to give them a good squeeze to get most of that water and the seeds out, because we don't want that in our soup. Okay, so our tomatoes are all ready now. We've basically taken off all the skins, taken out all the water from them, all the seeds are gone. Now, what we're going to do is we want to puree those, but first we're going to get our cooking started with our onions, our carrots, our garlic. Okay, we're going to get that up to temperature. We're going to add some olive oil. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons. You will probably add less. I'm making a bigger batch. I'm using about 1.5 kilos of tomatoes. I'm making a big batch for us. We're going to just keep it. And the best thing about this soup is that if you keep cooking it, if you reduce it down, make it a little thicker, you can use it as a pasta sauce. So that's kind of why I make bigger batches, because I can use it however I want. And it's a really versatile dish. Okay, so we're going to go in with our onions now. These are just finely chopped onions. That's what you want to hear. Nice sizzle. Okay, and then we're going to go in with our chopped garlic. And we're going to add in some carrots. Now, carrots are not a common ingredient in the tomato basil soup, but I feel like it gives it a little bit more body, a little bit more flavor. And I find that our tomatoes in India can be pretty acidic, so this actually adds a fair bit of sweetness to the dish, and it just brings the whole thing together. So we're going to add that in. Now what I've done with the carrots is I've just put them into a little blender, and so you've got this really fine dice. And we're just going to cook that down along with the onions and the garlic until everything is nice and soft. Okay, this soup stays pretty chunky. I'm not going to run it through a blender. I don't think it's necessary. It's good the way it is. We like a little bit of bite to it. Now, while this is cooking down, we're going to reduce the heat to a medium and just let it continue cooking. And while that's happening, we're going to go ahead and puree our tomatoes. Okay, so our tomatoes have been pureed. Like I said, I'm leaving them kind of chunky. I don't want it to be too smooth. We are going to add a little bit of store-bought tomato puree as well, just to give it a little bit more volume. But this looks like a pretty good amount. So we'll only use that if we really need to. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to add in our bay leaves, and we're going to add in a generous amount of chili flakes. Let's say about 2 teaspoons, maybe 3. Okay, I'm going to give that a good mix. Now at this stage I'm going to add in my stock powder. So what this is that Maggi vegetable cubes. So if you don't have the time or the vegetables around to make your own vegetable stock, then this is an amazing cheat. So what it comes in like a little cube, and what I do is I just crush it up like a powder, so it's just like a seasoning for me, and I just go ahead and sprinkle that in. Okay, so this is about 2 cubes. Like I said, I'm making a bigger batch. You'll probably use 1. And we're going to mix that right in. So it's really good. Alright, and now we're going to go in with our tomato puree. We're going to give this a good mix. Okay, so we've added the stock cube, and now to make that a stock, we're obviously going to add some water. Okay, so we're going to bring this heat up back to high and let those tomatoes sort of break down a little bit more. Now what I want to do is I'm going to season it with some salt and pepper. So for me, I think looking at it, it looks a little bit on the drier side, so I am going to add a little bit of tomato puree, which is store-bought. This is, how much is this? What is this? 200 grams. I think we're going to use probably about half of it. Okay, so about 100 grams of this. Yeah, so half. Again, we're just going to mix that all together, and now we're going to go in with our water. You can see how much volume this soup has. It's so thick and rich. Let's go in with our water. That was about 600 mils or so for now. We're just going to mix that up, see how that comes together. Okay, so I think this is a pretty good consistency for now. It's going to reduce, become a little bit thicker, which is what we want. Okay, so we brought our soup up to the boil. We're going to reduce it down to a sim. And what we're going to do is we're going to add our freshly chopped basil at this point, okay? Because if you put it in too early and you cook it for too long, your basil turns black, and sometimes it can go bitter. We don't want that. So we just want it towards the end to sort of gently infuse its flavor throughout that soup. And this is fresh basil from my very own plant, so it's about as fresh as it gets. And it's just roughly chopped, and we're gonna toss that in. And that's basically it. Now we're going to leave this on a super, super low heat to just sort of keep warm while the basil does its thing. And at the end, when we're ready to go, we're going to just remove our bay leaves and serve our food, our sandwich. What we're going to do is we're going to butter up our bread. I've got some butter here, it's been lying out, so it's pretty soft now. And we're just going to simply spread it over on both sides. Okay, so our bread is nicely buttered. Now we're going to go in with some cheese slices. Okay, so we want to put it kind of diagonally so it sort of oozes out of the sides, because that's always fun. Now, on top of this cheese slice, I'm going to add in a mixture of grated cheese that I have. This is just, again, it's regular cheese that you can get anywhere, but it's a cheese block instead of a cheese slice. Now, what I've done is I've grated it and I've seasoned it with salt, pepper, oregano, and some chili flakes to give it a little kick. Now, we're going to just go ahead and pop a nice layer of that in there to give it a real boost of flavor. Yummy. Oof, this is gonna be so rich. I'm gonna have to eat like 3 meals like that. Now, on top of that, just to hold that cheese in place, we're gonna add our second slice. And again, try to get some of those edges over the sides. And there you go. Okay, so that's our sandwich ready for the pan. We're going to go ahead and turn on that heat. We're going to get it on a medium-low, just about there. And we're going to just add a tiny little bit of butter to the pan. This is pretty much melted now. It's good enough. We just want to spread that out a little bit. Alright, our butter's nice and hot now. Okay, it's starting to bubble a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place our sandwich right in the middle and let it just do its thing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and check the color now. Ooh, that looks beautifully brown. I'm going to go ahead and flip it. Look at that. Wow. Same thing, we're going to let it cook for about 45 seconds or so. We can see how the cheese is getting melted on the sides. It's stuck to the bread very, very nicely. Okay, we're going to give it a little bit of a push. We really want that cheese inside to get melted. That would be just incredible. That looks incredible. It smells so good. The freshness of the basil is really, really coming through now. It's beautiful. And I can smell that our sandwich is done. So I'm going to take that off. We're going to let it cool down just a little bit before we start slicing into it. And in the meantime, I'm going to fill up my bowl of soup. You can see how beautifully chunky it is. It's a real hearty, comforting meal. Now we're going to go ahead and cut this into little strips, about a third of the way down. There we go. And there's your grilled cheese sandwich. Oh man, are we ready? Whew, this is so good. I'm going to dip that right in there. Ooh. I don't even know how to explain it, to be honest. You just gotta make it, you gotta try it. Jeez. So guys, there you have it. It's pretty straightforward. Everything kind of got made in one pot. The tomatoes are a little bit of a troublesome thing in the beginning, but again, if you just want to use tomato puree, you can. Please go ahead, try this at home, okay? Make it, share it, and please tag me in everything that you do so I can check up on you. You guys can always ask me any questions. Any feedback that you want to give me, I'm always open to it. So please enjoy this, please try it. I am gonna go eat this now. Bye.